Here was a great lord who owned a beautiful and precious vineyard. Before departing, he called his faithful servant and entrusted the vineyard into his care. He commanded him, "Guard this vineyard.
I want to entrust it to you.
Protect what I have planted and keep it safe until I return."
Someone who is trustworthy and credible. Will you be able to handle it?
The Lord knew that distractions, temptations, and challenges would come. Yet he warned his servant not to lose focus or abandon his responsibility.
I will do as you said, Master.
Please do it as if it is your own. A lot of people may come to take it from you, but don't allow.
Okay, Master.
As a sign of his promise to return, the Lord placed a precious silver treasure in the servant's hands. It was a reminder of the master's trust and his coming return. "Remain faithful until I return." Then the Lord departed.
It's so beautiful.
Yes, it's beautiful. You are
As the
welcome.
faithful servant continued to care for the vineyard, the responsibility began to weigh heavily upon him. Then came a good advisor, someone who understood the importance of his assignment. The advisor encouraged him not to look back, not to become discouraged, and not to allow the challenges ahead to distract him from his purpose. Days turned into weeks, weeks became months, and months slowly became years. The vineyard remained, and the servant continued his work.
Are you still waiting for your master to return?
As time passed, a discourager came to the servant and planted doubt in his heart. He questioned the silver treasure given by the master, saying, "Are you sure this treasure is genuine?"
Like this woman I've come to steal. Is with me. Which one is fake? See what my master gave to me.
It is really fake.
Not fake. My master
"Look
cannot
at what
give
I
me a
have,
fake.
it is far more valuable." He presented another treasure, trying to lure the servant away from what his master had entrusted to him. Now the servant faced a choice.
Something my master loves.
Fake. Can't you see it's not even shining? See, pure gold. Can you say it's shining?
Days turned into weeks, weeks became months, and months slowly became years. The vineyard remained, and the servant continued his work. Then came another distraction. Beautiful women approached the servant with flattering words and alluring appearances, trying to draw his attention away from the vineyard. They spoke sweetly and tried to win his heart, hoping to make him forget the responsibility entrusted to him, but the servant remained focused.
Please, let's go to
First
the
thing
word.
told me that my master deceived me.
He deceived you.
Second person, my master deceived me.
Yes.
For how many years my master?
Then came another discourager, this time with an offer of great wealth. He tempted the servant with money, comfort, and promises of an easier life. At first, the servant resisted.
He's not coming.
But the temptation grew stronger, and eventually he gave in. He took the money and turned his attention away from the vineyard.
Let's go.
I have
After
conquered.
several years, the master finally
I have
returned.
won more territory
He
to
came
myself.
expecting to find his vineyard beautiful, protected, and well cared for, but there was no one to welcome him. The vineyard was neglected, overgrown, and covered with litter. What was once beautiful had been forgotten. The master looked around and realized that the servant had abandoned the responsibility entrusted to him.
For you there again. John, mission accomplished.
John, where is this?
The servant
My
finally
master is back.
returned, broken and filled with tears. He fell before his master and pleaded for another chance, but the master was deeply disappointed.
Oh, shit.
They celebrated the servant's fall, believing they had finally won him over.
Can you tell me where you are coming
Mission
from?
accomplished.
Master, I'm sorry. I'm
Say angel, they wear black.
He had returned with the intention of rewarding his faithful servant with even greater treasures, but instead he found the vineyard abandoned and forgot. Meanwhile, the discouragers rejoiced.
I'm sorry. Master, I'm sorry. Master, please. Master, forgive me.
He had returned with the intention of rewarding his faithful servant with even greater treasures, but instead he found the vineyard abandoned and forgot. Meanwhile, the discouragers rejoiced. As the servant wept and pleaded for mercy, the discouragers surrounded him and dragged him away from the vineyard. The one who was once entrusted with the master's treasure had now lost the vineyard he was called to protect.
Say it is expected of a steward to be found faithful. What assignment has God given to you? How have you been able to handle them? Have you allowed it to slip off from your hand because of distraction? Bible says, blessed are those that are tempted after their temptation and they do not give up. He said they will receive a reward of righteousness. My brothers, my sisters, this is to exhort us that God has a business committed to you based on your abilities. And would you be found faithful? Will you be found faithful? It is expected of a steward to be found faithful. Thank you.